Ooh, what up, though? It is another Tuesday, and we are ready to rumble. It's almost time and ready to rumble anyway. We're headed out to Tampa. Me this Thursday to get down there, cover the Royal Rumble for WWE and Body Slam. But before we get to that, we got the homie, Rob Williams from the Bob Culture Podcast, coming in here to let us know what he thinks about the Royal Rumble. Who do you think's going to show up tonight? Let us know in the comments. But before we get to that, I got to tell you about our sponsors at Potter's Tree Service. If you are in the need for tree removal, tree trimming, tripping service, storm damage cleanup, walnut logging, or lot clearing, Potter's Tree Service has got you together. But I can show you a lot better than I can tell you. So check out this video and enjoy the show.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
And just like that, it is another Tuesday, and man, it's Royal Rumble week. I'm ready to go to Tampa. I'm tired of freezing my balls off, but we got a lot to talk about before we can talk about my balls not being freezing no more. In the meantime, we've got the return of our buddy Rob Williams from the Bob Culture Podcast, who also was in the press conference with us at Survivor Series in Chicago. Rob, we appreciate you coming back through. How the hell are you feeling about the Rumble, my man?
Feeling good, man. They're just letting anyone do these press conferences these days, man. You know, the likes
Hey,
of
don't
us,
say that too loud, all right?
I'm kidding, man. No, very well deserved, man. We work hard, man. Thank you for having me. I'm hyped, man. I love that intro. I was jamming to the music. Let's go. It's Rumble season.
Yeah,
hey, man.
Boy. Go. My favorite time of the year, man. My favorite time of the year. You already know. You already know what it is. Get together with the
time
boys.
for a defense. That's what
this son of a bitch took my belt, first of all. Like, I'm just mad that I love how his first defense, I don't even get a chance to take the belt back because I'm going to be there. That's bullshit. I can ring the bell that I'm going to be there, but I can't get my belt back.
It's all right. You'll be there. You'll be here in spirit, but we'll be there.
Hey, she'll be there too. Shout out to Bree and the Wrestle Talk Wolfpack, or excuse me, the Wolfpack.
Right.
Check them out in Tampa as well. Yeah, without any further ado, boys, there's a lot we got to get into. Before we get into the Royal Rumble itself, I mean, holy hell, dude. We had quite the bit of news that was announced in that WWE and Monday Night Raw are going to Netflix. 10 years, $5 billion, starting January 2025. Rob, since you are our guest, please tell me what your thoughts are on this, because all I've got to say in short is that, man, this is the start of the dominoes. All sports are going to be on streaming services within like 5 years, mark my words. But what do you think about WWE Raw going to Netflix?
As the old saying goes, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. I certainly don't subscribe to that theory, but, you know, in the business world, man, that's what you got to do. And WWE has been firing on all cylinders, especially now with TKO. Just the storylines, they seem to be bringing everybody in. We saw what happened with Punk over at Survivor Series, man, and they're just firing on all cylinders. At the press conference.
Well, we didn't see it, but I know about it.
Yeah. Another story. We heard it. But Trips, reporting record high sponsorships, record high views, record high merch sales. I mean, great problems to have here for the WWE, and they're firing on all cylinders, and it's not a huge surprise that they're going to a streaming network. As you said, a lot of sports outlets and sporting organizations are going to streaming platforms. Shout out John Alba, who's been saying it over on his podcast with Eric Bischoff. He's been saying, like you said, mark my words, Raw will be on a streaming service. In business terms, taking the feelings out of it, it's a great move. I think, $5 billion, 10 years, a couple stipulations in there. I think I saw some stuff about no commercials.
That's so dope.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I don't know if it depends on what sort of subscription you have. And I'm also paying attention to, and I posted this morning, just like the comments, like people being like, hey, I don't have no Netflix. Like, I don't want to pay $20 for Netflix or, and again, this is going to be next year. I think, like you said, a lot more things are going to be streaming. Everyone's different, but streaming seems to be the way of the world. It makes a lot of sense on paper, man.
J-Bone, what about you, bro?
I'm with it, man. You got to change with the times. And the times right now is business moves is what matters. And I mean, bro, look at the dollar signs here. You think they care if anybody's not watching on cable anymore? They don't care. Everybody's streaming stuff, whether it's Hulu, Netflix, Peacock. My only question is like you said, Rob, is there going to be commercials? Because depending on your subscription to Netflix, that's how you have ads, commercials, say whatnot. But it's just the top, right? We don't even know if the library is going to be there. We don't know if there's going to be reruns.
Well, it's just Raw. No, it's just Raw.
We don't know anything yet. So you see a lot of people on the
they said it's just Raw because Peacock still has their deal that has like the network side of it.
So now you just got to have them both. Cough it up, man. You spent money on worse things.
I mean, let's put it this way, bro. When the rights deal for that comes up, I mean, hot damn, they could very well do that. I mean, they got paid $4 billion, if I'm not mistaken, from Peacock. So
SmackDown moving to USA later.
SmackDown's going to USA, so it's still gonna have their foot in the WWE pond. And with it going to Netflix, it very well could happen in the future with the pay-per-views and that kind of stuff going that route too. Some of the things that popped up for me with that are I want to see how Netflix is going to do as far as how do they do with live events? Like, how do they do with Monday Night Raw being live versus being able to go back and fix it if it's choppy or whatever the case? Because we all know, as Vince McMahon's famous for saying, we're live, pal. There is no going back and editing it or any of that stuff. Another thing that jumps out to me with the Netflix thing is you can finally watch wrestling in 4K. Because think about it. With cable, you can't really do that. Netflix, you can. If we're going to be streaming it through there and then you get to have it on 4K, that means you're going to have a crisper picture with it. I feel like this is like the first domino to fall. Like I said, I believe that we're going to see a lot more of it with the sports. I know here in Detroit, it's already been being talked about with like Detroit sports because of Bally Sports bankruptcy thing. So with that said, dude, I just think that this is going to be like the first of many as far as that happening as far as sports goes. But with that said, the other thing that really popped out to me, and I want to know what you guys think about that, and anybody who's watching, please feel free to chime in the comments, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, or all three of them. With that being said, what up, though, Donald? Do you think that WWE going to Netflix means we've already heard AEW kind of flirt around with going to HBO Max? Do you think with everything that we've been hearing through the rumor mills with the stuff with Warner Brothers and all that, do you think that this could be the thing that opens up the door to where they say, okay, well, if things don't work out with Warner Brothers, then we'll just go over to HBO Max and maybe Dynamite or Collision or whatever, could be on an HBO Max thing? Or could they just go and do like what we were talking about with Peacock and make that like the home for all their old stuff? Do you guys think that now that this Netflix thing is happening, that could mean AEW could go to HBO Max sooner since we've heard that thrown around before.
Well, with what you were saying earlier about like all major sports entities kind of leading their direction of streaming, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, not at all. And to kind of speed up the deal, I don't know necessarily the details with the AEW behind the scenes and what they've got going on with the potential deal and stuff like that. But like you said, every single sport, whether they're doing it through their own platform with like the NFL League Pass and stuff like that, everyone is doing their best to try to get the fan base to follow them. And that was kind of one thing I wanted to pose, not to ask another question to piggyback off of yours, but with the Netflix thing, it's going to really be I'm curious to see how many people resubscribe to Netflix, re-add that subscription.
I bet you it'll be a shit ton. And
I would imagine so, but with the whole change that just happened with Netflix, with the no more sharing passwords and stuff.
See,
like that,
Donald says the same.
They lost a ton of steam, and Netflix wasn't the top streaming subscription service anymore, or at least it didn't seem like it from the outside. So this is definitely a huge move, and like you said, Kyle, with the whole live sports thing, I wonder how. Does this open the door for them bringing in more products as well? We've kind of talked about it with the UFC deal coming up here in another year and a half. They're already connected organizations. I mean, it opens the door for so many different possibilities of, like you say, what app, where can we find what? I mean, this is just 1/3, I guess we'll call it, of the WWE product. You know, you got SmackDown, Raw, and then the Prime,
and NXT also.
NXT as well, but the pay-per-view events is what I was referring to as a third part. But it's just funny to see how they were able to segment themselves out, and now with the subscription model, they've always done the segment thing, but to keep it the same type of way where everything, they're making money in so many different directions.
Yeah, you're right. And according to our buddy Whip, man, he says that the stock for Netflix went up 18% since the announcement.
Oh, they said that on Busted Open this morning. They had the guy from the Sports Business Journal on there, and he said that stock immediately went up as soon as that was announced.
So they're making money already.
If there's any group of fans that'll follow a product around, that's WWE fans. That's for sure. They love what they watch. And I know you guys complain sometimes about Raw maybe not being the highest.
Donald coming in with the facts. WWE's already saying Raw is going to be ad-free, so we're getting commercial-free wrestling. Hot damn it.
I'm cool with that. Shit. Let's go. Regardless of the subscription, right? That'll be great.
I will pay a little bit more if it means that I don't gotta watch the commercial.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. I was one of those guys who was borrowing passwords and all that stuff.
Yeah, boy.
But look, man. Look, I love Monday Night Raw. It's a tradition in my house, so it's something I'm gonna have to adapt to. It's just you gotta have it. You can't have life without wrestling, right? Am I right, boys? Come on. What's life with no wrestling?
Bree said, "I'm glad I didn't cancel Netflix."
Hope it's not like, the basics, like what, $7 for one screen. I just hope they don't jack it up to like something crazy. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's definitely going to change a little bit.
It's like how Hulu did in the beginning, where they added the live sports package, where you can get Hulu for like $7 still or some shit, $10, but to get all the sports and stuff on there, it's like $80 a month or some shit. So who knows? Who knows what we might see?
Okay, so that wasn't the only piece of news that we had. It was also announced that The Rock is now part of the TKO board, which means even if he's not getting in the ring with Roman at WrestleMania, he's going to be involved with trying to get WWE onto a bigger platform for the foreseeable future. I personally think that it could not have been a better move. I mean, who better to have on the board than somebody like The Rock, who not only has the wrestling knowledge, but he also has the mainstream appeal and the mainstream light on him as well. Rob, how big of a deal do you think it is that The Rock has been named to the TKO board of directors?
I think it's pretty significant, man. Echoing on what you had just said, you have the star power, obviously, of The Rock. You have the business savvy. $7 promotions. We obviously know his work in the WWE, in Hollywood. That goes without saying. But also now the XFL, I think, combining with the UFL. So he's making moves. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Now he's on the board over at TKO. it's a very interesting move. And now also, don't want to also forget the fact that he now owns, I believe, the trademark to the term or the name.
He does. He has
Rock.
the full ownership of the name The Rock now.
And I watched a few clips, and he was saying how much that meant to him, and that was a big part of the deal. You know, how important his family is to him. If you guys watch, you know, the Rock, Young Rock series, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nice little show to sit on the couch and watch with the family, man. So I'm all for it, man. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I don't really see any negatives coming out of that at all. They're making moves. And like I said, foot on the gas, not all gas, you know, no brakes kind of situation. This is foot on the gas, very calculated stops, man. And it's making a lot of sense. It's good business.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking the most likable and probably recognizable figure in the world, dude. Like,
he might be the president next, just for the
he's
record.
more popular than the president, bro. You know what I mean? Like, the dude is like, we lobby for this guy. At the drop of a dime, like The Rock, you mention that anywhere on social media and tag WWE or anything involved, all of a sudden rumors just started to swirl it. Like, he is the most popular man in the world. Everybody knows him. So I don't think it's a bad move at all. How could it be? It's lucrative for everybody. And think about his story. Like Rob just said, the fact that we all know where he started, when he started, this thing has come so full circle for him, dude. He couldn't ask to do it any better or more unique. That is full circle life form in wrestling right there. That's amazing. Good for him.
And like you were saying, Rob, with how successful he's been in other business ventures, it makes sense to see him kind of get this position. And I did not know about the Rock thing being now his. That's got to be huge, man. I mean, like, you're talking, you bring up the family, being able to, I'm sure, collect family wealth later on in life once The Rock eventually passes, just based upon that name, having that as a trademark and being able to say, like, you want to license out The Rock, then pay the family. You know what I mean? Like, even stuff like that's got to be huge. Or just when somebody refers to him on a show as The Rock, now he doesn't have to make sure with his lawyers that he's not going to be in trouble. You know what I mean? Just like even the dumb stuff. So that's a huge aspect of it.
Hell yeah, man. Well, all right. We said it's time to Rumble. Well, as we head into the Rumble, boy, do we got a couple of storylines that we got to talk about here. We heard last night on Monday Night Raw that Seth Rollins is not dropping the World Heavyweight Championship. But we also had a guy who, if you go watch the Survivor Series press conference, I got to chat with. But with that said, Gunther comes out and basically tells Seth, like, look, bro, heal your leg up. I'm about to go win this Royal Rumble this weekend, and I'm still going to choose you. And I'm not going to hold you up. The Women's Royal Rumble, I'm pretty sure that I think I know who's going to win. That said, the Men's Rumble, I literally could go 3 different ways, and one of the 3 ways I could see it going is definitely in the direction of the Ring General Gunther. So with that being said, J-Bone, I'll let you go first on this one. What were your thoughts on what we heard from Seth? And what do you think we're going to see from him from now to WrestleMania? How much do you think we'll see him between now and WrestleMania with his leg being busted?
Yeah, we kind of got more questions than answers there, man. It was like, I mean, obviously, I thought he was dropping it. We've seen how emotional he was. You had the crowd cheering, thank you, Seth. I thought it was over with for a minute, man. I felt so bad for him. But as far as between now and like Mania, I don't know what he can't do much. He can't really wrestle. He's just got to rehab. I guess you could do some on-screen appearances, you know what I mean? Be at the Rumble, you know, in that aspect. But I was really hoping that he was going to vacate the title like we talked about the other week, Kyle. He's going to vacate the title and Priest was going to get a cheap-ass cash in, bring tons of heat on that.
I thought that would have been a great time for him to cash in.
Would have been perfect.
I ain't going to hold you up. But
at the same time, dude, you got to respect Seth. Like, that dude made that championship. That dude made that championship significant to Raw, and he's a workhorse, like we said. So the fact that he is somehow sticking with it, I'm glad he is. But it does bring that extra question. Gunther could very well walk away and win this Royal Rumble.
Joey said the same thing. Welcome back, Joey. Long time no see. We got to hear what you think on the Royal Rumble. But Rob, what do you think on the future of Seth freaking Rollins?
So this is not my opinion out of the gate right here. Like, again, we shout out Busted Open all the time. If you listened the other day, you know, a lot of them on Busted Open were saying the same thing. And Mark Henry was pretty much the one who was like, hey, no, like if I'm Seth Rollins, he's not going to drop that title. He's going to fight through as long as he can, because just like you guys said, there's so many other people right now that could just take that torch and pick it up. And I'm not losing my spot. Not right now. Not right here. I'm going to do what I can. What is it? An MCL? I believe that was the injury.
Yeah, MCL. Yep.
So there is, I think, some wiggle room to power through. Is it smart? Probably not. You know, just calling it down the middle. You know, health first. But he's the kind of guy, man, that, let's be real. And I've said this, man, 4 or 5 years ago, he was carrying Monday Night Raw on his back then. You know, and he's done it more recently as well. And we talk about that World Heavyweight Championship. Like, that's not picking up the lineage of the old World Heavyweight Championship. Like, this is new. And he made that title. You know, the question is like, is this going to be a legit title? Like, you know, are people going to care about this? And I think we all care. We're talking about it. And he made that. And I think he knows that. And that's why he's like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to go down like that. Can he sit the Royal Rumble out? Probably has to, you know.
Well, it's Tommy Vendetta, all right. You know, Tommy Vendetta is a crazy son of a bitch.
Oh, on the comment, I just saw that. Wow.
He's an
so
Iron
right,
Man.
so you can go, but I thought it was a great promo. I don't know if Gunther used the word. I don't know if he used the word respect or not. I'm trying to remember if he used the word respect, but I love the promo. He didn't cheap shot him. He was like, hey, straight out of the gate, I'm going to win. I'm coming for you. There's a lot of similarities between me and you. I don't know if he said use the word.
He did. He said he respected Seth's run and all that stuff.
Did he use the word yeah? So I was going to say I'm paraphrasing, but he said I respect what you're doing. So that to me was perfect, because then at the end of the program, I'm like, is he going to kick his leg or do something, or is it going to be cashing or something? And they didn't do any of that funny business. So I'll respectfully disagree. I like that. And first of all, health. If you're a wrestler, an indie wrestler, take care of yourself. Listen to the doctors, because none of y'all do. But that being said, health first. But that being said, I think I admire Seth for holding onto the torch, really stepping up and trying to make it to WrestleMania. So great promo. Glad to see Seth power through, but just be healthy, man.
And you would think it can't be that bad, right? Because obviously the doctors can say, hell no, dude, you're not wrestling at WrestleMania. So if it's got to be some wiggle room at least. Maybe not too much, but hey, let's stay off of it. No wrestling until Mania. And maybe you can get through it. Maybe that's just it. But
I mean, I've seen fighters fight on MCLs and things of that nature. Like obviously,
labrums and
right. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a smart thing to do. Like you said, obviously, maybe not the smartest thing in the world to do, but to go out right now while you're the champion, headed into the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. If I'm Seth Rollins, I'm doing whatever the fuck I have to do to make it through that. And you know, I mean, dude, think about the potential scene that you could have. If he somehow, I mean, I think if, you know, with how hurt he is, I think even if he does make it to WrestleMania, I think he would drop the title at WrestleMania. But I mean, dude, Becky's on her way back up the card too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we will talk about her when we get to the Women's Royal Rumble, but bro, like she's on a roll too. So, I mean, both of them are at the top right now. I mean, it's like I said, it's you know, it's very possible that both of them could be on the top of it. Joey, if Seth doesn't wrestle at WrestleMania, it's going to be very disappointing. We already have one world champion who barely wrestles. Well, I mean,
this is
look,
true.
Seth, it's very true. It's very true, which is why I mean, if he's really hurt and got the torn MCL, which obviously it looks as though all that's true. I mean, I think that Seth ends up dropping the belt at WrestleMania, but we'll have to see how things play out. But I mean, I just don't really see a scenario in which they're going to have him on TV every week getting beat up when his knee's already fucked up. Like, yeah. I just feel like if you got to make him to make it to WrestleMania, I mean,
I agree.
But then, you know, to Joey's point, and, you know, shout out to past guests of the show again as well, Dave LaGreca, but you know, I mean, even he said it. I mean, now you have put it in a spot where then that will mean Seth hasn't been able to defend the title in well over 60 days. So, I mean, it really puts the WWE in a tough spot. But, man, luckily for them, I feel like this is the best time that they could have had that happen, and that at least like they've got so much stuff, because on top of all this with what we're talking about, Seth, I don't know about y'all, but I really loved what we saw between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes yesterday. I thought that was so badass. I know they're not going to have a match at the Royal Rumble, but just to see them two cross paths in the Royal Rumble is something else. And I feel like the stuff that they used in that, like Punk talking about his respect of watching Cody's run after seeing him come up in OVW, and how he says he's going to break his promise to Dusty, and how, you know, he's more of the American dream than Cody is because his dad was an electrician and all that stuff. I love stuff like that. That was dope. And then for Cody to come back around and then throw out the fact that you talked all this talk about a pipe bomb and going and revolutionizing wrestling, but I'm the one who went out to all these indies. I'm the one that went out to Impact. I'm the one that went out to New Japan. I'm the one that went and blazed my own trail and then make my way back, to the WWE. So I loved, a lot of what we saw there. I liked the back and forth of it, and it really at least puts you in a spot where you're like, oh shit, I just want to see these two mix it up in the Royal Rumble. Because if you've been listening to the show for any length of the time, and if you're new here, thanks for checking us out. Make sure you hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. But I've been saying for a while, as far as my picks for the Royal Rumble goes, I believe that I've said for a while, I think that it's got to be Cody to win, in the fact that it'd be the only way he can get back to Roman. But now I'm not so sold that necessarily it has to be Roman for him to face. But with that being said, I still stick with my picks with that, but it puts us in a situation with the Royal Rumble where you're like, shit, I genuinely am just excited to see what happens with this. See, and Donald said the same thing. He agrees it has to be Cody. With that said, Rob, what'd you think of CM Punk and Cody yesterday, bro?
I thought it was great. It was funny to see a lot of people's, I shouldn't say funny. It was interesting to see a lot of people's like tweets and opinions about how this was going to go down. And I don't think it's what anyone expected. They obviously talked about Dusty, and I loved what you had said, Kyle, where he had talked about walking the walk and talking the talk, where, hey, you did the pipe bomb, and yes, it changed the business. I'm notoriously not a Punk guy, but I'll be the first one to say I respect and appreciate a lot of the stuff he's done with that pipe bomb segment, really breaking the fourth wall, changing the business as a whole, to what it is today, the reality era, the social media era, all that stuff. But Cody was the one, and I love that he went there. He said it, that, Cody smashed the throne. Cody went out on the independents. You had Punk talking about Trips and his relationship and father-in-law. Cody smashed the throne. He went on the independents. He started his own company. He did all these things. He was kind of the anti-establishment guy. I always called CM Punk the anti-hero, and I don't think of Cody that way. It was just one of those things where he said it, and you're just like, huh, like, yeah, he's right. And maybe it's because I'm waving the Cody flag here and not the Punk flag, but man, is it super interesting going into the Rumble. I thought it was great. And I loved even just the stare down afterwards, and the crowd was great too, but where Cody's like, they're both in their face and Cody's just kind of shaking, like you can see he's holding back that anger, first of all, heel Cody is going to be awesome when that. Don't do it now. Don't do it anytime soon. Doesn't make any sense. The kids love him. A merch seller, makes no sense whatsoever. But man, with the suits and the big words and even that interaction right there, I was like, man, he is going to be a heck of a heel. That being said, though, man, I really couldn't ask for anything more from this promo. Maybe I thought it was going to be like a respect thing. It's like, hey, you know what, man? If I win, like Cody, I'm going to go after Seth so you can go after Raw, like a respect kind of thing. And I'm like, nah, that doesn't really get people like, yeah, let's go, going to the Rumble. We need that friction. And I thought it was a lot of fun. And I thought it was really interesting. My favorite point was just like, hey, you're all talk, but I was all action, man. And I thought that was a great point. I loved it.
I'm just reading in some of the comments.
I'm loving the comments right now.
Keep them coming. First of all, I'm loving this.
Wait, hold on. Before we go, so were you guys a fan of the '94 finish, the '94 Rumble? Did you guys like the finish?
Yeah, I'll put the comment on.
That was the Bret Hart and Lex Luger. They dumped over at the same time.
Yep, and they went at the same time.
Do you remember how that played out? And then at WrestleMania or whatever it was, they literally flipped a coin to see who faced.
I think they'd get ate alive if they went with the coin flip part.
God, that was absolutely horrible to me. Actually, no, I can't say it was my favorite. Bret Hart was my dude, but Lex Luger I just never cared for. But a coin toss, even at 7 years old, bro, I'm like, why are we flipping the damn coin? Like, I want to see these guys scrap. Let's go. I didn't get it, so I wasn't a fan of it. I just want to put that out there. I've been being hated on the internet lately, so let's hate me some more if you like the '94 Rumble.
All right, so since we're talking about the Royal Rumble, then once again, check Rob and I out. We're going to be there for a lot of the press events, whether that be the press junket, the press conference, all those good things. Make sure you're checking it out on Peacock. And this time I don't got to hide nothing, so feel free to tag me. But that being said, let's talk about the Royal Rumble. Rob, since we got to get you out of here because I know you've got to go handle your business on your show, I will let you pick first. Do you want to start with the female Rumble or the male Rumble? And who do you got?
Let's go with the female. We talked a lot about Cody and Punk and all that. I think they're heavy favorites in the men's. And Zero Rush, brother. Zero Rush. I think we'll go with the women's Rumble. I think that's a good place to start.
All right, you go first. Who you got?
All right. I'm just gonna pull this one. I think Becky is a solid choice. This one's a little bit of an interesting one. And I was thinking about it. I'm just gonna say, when's the last time we saw Jade Cargill in any form of fashion?
Been a minute.
Damn it! I shouldn't have let him go first.
Did I steal your thunder?
We do it all the time.
I think the fact that we're all on the same page, it's not that huge of a surprise, but just that
I'm down with X-Pac.
Yeah, they kind of had her making like these appearances on NXT and walking in and entrances, the pay-per-views and stuff. And, here and there, maybe a Raw or SmackDown or two. And it's just very like, this is your number 30 coming in out of nowhere, Jade Cargill. And she's going to get that big match versus Rhea or Io, whatever it is. I just think Jade Cargill is going to come out a 27, a 28, a 29, or a 30 at the end. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. And, maybe because, there'll be a good final 3, final 4, or, before that number 30, like Becky's, really hot and taking everyone out. Nia Jax will probably be there in the end. Probably some sort of surprise return will be there as well. And then it's like, oh, Jade, number 30. And it's like, oh, Jade's going to win. And I think that's what's going to happen, man. I'm going to go Jade Cargill.
I like it. So he's not going with Becky. He's going with Jade. All right, J-Bone, who you got?
Bro, I'm ready to shake up the place. Are you ready for my pick? And it's a wild card. I'm taking Bailey. I picked her last year, and she
MJF is a surprise entrant.
I'd be here for it.
But listen, I think we still get Jade in the Royal Rumble. But listen, now we have a Triple H era of wrestling. It don't have to be the Vince McMahon way. They don't have to be number 30 wins. It doesn't have to be. We already know who's gonna win. It doesn't have to be the favorite no more. We're getting something new. So like we can literally fantasy book this, and we might not be far off. So if we can get Jade in there somehow we can implement Rhea to say, screw that. I ain't letting this win the Royal Rumble and take my shine. She gets out there, dumps her over somehow. Bailey wins the whole thing, takes on Io. Now we got Elimination Chamber because we need it to matter. Somehow Jade can get that back at the Chamber. All of a sudden she's facing Rhea at WrestleMania. We can kind of get there. You know what I mean? So we don't have to do it the Vince McMahon way no more. Number 30 don't got to be it. Number 30 could be the big disappointment and the big shocker to be eliminated. So that's what I'm hoping they do. But my pick, Bailey. I beat my mic up over it. I'm excited.
J-Bone. Bailey needs more than Becky at this point. I would love to see Bailey back in the main picture myself. As far as my pick, it really comes down to those two for me. I really feel like it's either Bailey or I think it's Becky Lynch.
So no Jade.
I want to say Bailey. I want to say Bailey, but I don't think it's going to be Bailey, and here's why. I feel like they've already been planting the seeds of the split of Damage Control. So I feel like if that's the route we're going and they're going to blow that up, I feel like I could see what if Bailey gets down to the final four, right? Gets down to the final four, final two, final whatever. And then all the people from Damage Control, Io Sky and Asuka and Dakota Kai and all of them come out. And then because they do something and it fucks and they either screw Bailey over or they just turn on her and leave Bailey laying, make it look like Bailey's about to survive, and oh shit, Bailey's actually gonna do it. Bailey's gonna win the Royal Rumble, and then Damage Control fucks her over. I think something like that's gotta happen. So as far as my pick, I think the only other logical pick at that point for me is Becky Lynch. I feel like her promo that she cut talking about wanting to fight Rhea at WrestleMania and how she knew the only way that she was going to get there was by winning the Royal Rumble, and why she needed to reestablish that she was the man and that she wanted to take out Mommy and all this stuff. I just feel like Becky is that pick. But then again, to go off your point, Rob, I think Jade Cargill has to be the surprise, bro. Like as far as the big surprise, dude, even though we all know she's in the company, the fact that she hasn't wrestled or done any of that stuff, bro, like Jade has to be in a Rumble. I feel like perfect way to showcase her strength, have her eliminate a bunch of people, all that kind of stuff. I definitely feel like Becky Lynch is the pick. Corey, who you rolling with for the Rumble?
I was leaning right there with Rob. I think you don't sign that big of a talent. You don't bring somebody like Jade in, and then to your point, not even really do anything with her, kind of show her the WWE way, I guess we could say, and then go kind of camera silent and radio silent. And now here we are, week of Rumble. I've heard you guys talk about it on the show at least 4 or 5 times, how she would just be the perfect example of what a winner of Rumble is. Somebody that comes in, makes a huge impact, and now is all of a sudden at the top of the game. And I don't think you just go out there, and I'm sure they paid her some decent money to pull, one of the best women talent that AEW had, just to kind of sideline her for. I was surprised it was this long, but now that it has been this long, I feel like it's.
I think it was great that they did that, though, because that way it polishes her up. So by the time we see her in the Rumble or she gets in her first feud, I think Jade's going to be 10 times better than what we even seen in AEW.
Yeah, and you're probably absolutely right with that. But to J-Bone's point, I kind of, for the fans, I hope that I'm wrong, because I feel like the Triple H era, we can do so many different things. It doesn't have to be the person that everybody thinks it's going to be. I think it's the person everybody probably thinks it's going to be in Jade.
We're going the Vince McMahon way here.
Yeah. All right, so we got 2 for Jade. I got Becky, and J-Bone's got Bailey. In the comments, it says Joey's got Bailey. Donald says he wants Bailey. A lot of people want Bailey out here. I'm not mad at that. All right, so we got the Women's Royal Rumble out of the way.
Comment saying we might get a Mickey James appearance. That'd be dope.
I would love that, and I think that's definitely a possibility. We already saw her come back in the Rumble when she was the Impact champion. I think that would be dope, especially with her doing what she's doing with OVW now, even though they're not affiliated with WWE anymore. But okay, before we get to the Men's Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns is finally going to have to defend the motherfucking belt. We're going to have a fatal 4-way. You're going to have Roman Reigns versus the phenomenal AJ Styles versus LA Knight. Yeah. And I'm not mad at this. And then you got the Viper Randy Orton in there, dude. This has got main event match written all over it. I think it's a great way to kind of reinsert everybody back into that that title picture. It's allowing a guy like LA Knight, who's kind of been up there for a minute, it's still keeping him there. And I feel like all 4 people in the match have kind of had their hot points. Shout out to Nick Aldis as well. I feel like Nick Aldis, as general manager, has done such a dope job of curating all this stuff and like keeping the sanity over there on Friday Night SmackDown with everything that's going on. Rob, who you got? Who's going to be our champion? Is Roman Reigns dropping the belt?
This is great booking. I love this. First of all, don't do that thing where these 3 guys are, competing for the big title here, and then they go in the Rumble as well. Don't do that. Like, sometimes I don't love it when like the tag team guys have a match or tag team title match and then the Rumble later. Like, let's leave the spots open. Let's let them go to work in this one. They're getting the opportunity here today. I thought LA Knight was going to be in the Rumble, definitely a Final 4 in my mind, but this is better. This makes sense. The caliber.
I think
AJ
both of them
Styles,
are coming in the Rumble, Donald.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, on in the comments. Yeah, I think so too. I'm here for that, man. But that being said, I mean, Styles, Orton, LA Knight, great challengers, but also let's not forget the fact I'm a stats guy, analytics guy, 75% chance Roman loses the title here on paper. So it's like, I got 3 people. Roman does not have to be pinned or submitted to lose the title. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, you have the bloodline in play. There's a lot of moving parts. This is going to be a really good match. I'm very excited for this match. I think a lot of times with these Rumbles, you have these you're really excited for the Rumbles and you have these title matches, but these are some good title matches. This is going to be really, really good. I'm excited for it, but I don't see Roman Reigns losing here for multiple reasons. But maybe some funny business at the end. I'll put it that way.
I like it. J-Bone, who you got?
I think we're going to get as close as possible to him losing as we can, right? And the only way he does lose is if it has something to do with The Rock, which I don't think that's going to happen. But
that answered my next question. I was going to say, so does he get involved?
He's definitely in the news. So, I mean, who knows? But no, I think Roman holds on to it. Great match, though. Like I like seeing matches like this. You like seeing those top tier guys having big time matches, and this is a big time match at a big time event. So I'm here for it, man. But Roman ultimately is going to pull it out again. Like you said, though, there's going to be some shady business. It's going to be a lot of booze, but he's going to pull it out.
I feel like we've seen that story a couple times where Roman's been this close.
We've seen it a lot of times.
And then still maintains. So that, how can you not go in that direction? Especially with how much story we have going into WrestleMania. I mean, Kyle, you've made a good point, though, where he could lose it because of the fact that the Rock matchup is so big. That
appreciate you, brother, man.
It allows for I forgot the dude's name that was commenting earlier about how there's a lack of championships being defended right now. If he was to lose it with you could still have that huge match at WrestleMania, especially with The Rock getting back involved, and have a belt that will be more actively defended. But I still just don't think it's the time. I'm still leaning Roman. I'm just kind of devil's advocate, spitballing.
So we'll go rapid fire on this next match because I totally skipped over it before we talk about the Royal Rumble. So we've got Logan Paul defending the U.S. Championship against KO Kevin Owens. Is Logan Paul dropping the strap? Something tells me he's not dropping the strap, so I'll go first. I think Logan Paul's keeping the belt. Rob, what you got?
I think Logan Paul's keeping the belt. KO's a quality opponent here. Makes a lot of sense. I don't mind seeing KO punch Logan Paul in the face. That being said, I think we're all here for that match. I think Logan Paul's going to make a lot of appearances with that U.S. title, like we said we were, until he keeps it warm for LA Knight.
All right, J-Bone, who you got?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I think LA Knight's the next U.S. champ, to be honest. But yeah, Logan Paul's keeping this. But I got something for you in the Rumble when we has something to do with this when we get back to it. But we'll get there. But I'm taking Logan Paul for the win here.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think Logan Paul is keeping the belt on that one. All right. Go ahead, Corey. Oh, shit, my bad. I didn't mean to skip over you.
You're good. I know my half informed wrestling pick may not be mean as much, but in this one, this is where it matters because this is Logan Paul's the casual guy here, right?
This is true.
So, yet he has done such a great job of transcending into the world of wrestling. There's no way that they've just wrapped a belt around him that he's gonna almost immediately lose it. That There's no way. It's going to be a great match. There's going to be a bunch of high-flying moments and stuff like that. I'm sure of that. There's no way he's going to lose that belt.
Wow, Bree thinks that KO is going to win the belt, so we're going to take the belt off
like
Logan quick out here, bro. That's interesting. Rob, you think he's keeping it?
Say again. I'm sorry. I was texting my guys.
Do you think Logan's keeping that U.S. Championship belt?
Oh, do I think Logan's? Yes, I think Logan's keeping it. Weren't for LA Knight. Yeah.
All right. Now we've got to the match that genuinely has me like, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. And that's the Royal Rumble. And that is the best kind of Royal Rumble to be had. Damn it. I'm loving that. Joey threw out one of my favorite Royal Rumbles in the comments. I am very partial to the 1998 Royal Rumble, the 1999 Royal Rumble. I was a big fan of the 2000 Royal Rumble. Obviously, you can tell when I grew up. So, yeah, I love the Royal Rumble. Looking forward to this one because, again, here's another name we haven't got to even talk about the surprises. Fucking A, please let Pat McAfee be in the Royal Rumble.
You want a minute? I remember we picked him to return last year, but it was for commentary.
Hey, remember what we were talking about with Mega Ran and Big Swole, which if you're going to be in the Tampa area, make sure you come out to the Crowbar Friday night. You know, past guest of the show, the big homie, AJ Francis is coming through. Past guest of the show, Big Swole's coming through. Max Caster's coming through. We got Leo Rush is coming through. You got names upon names upon names battle rapping, and you heard AJ say it on this here show. The Raw roster is coming to the battle rap. So, I mean, if you're in Tampa, there ain't no better place to be.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, the men's Royal Rumble, there's three that I'm in between three people. I'm going to pick one because I'm not going to do like Devin says and say I don't like to pick. So fuck you, Devin, if you hear this. But with that said, I think it's between three people, really. I feel like CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and to be honest with you, after what he said to Seth on Monday, I think it's between the two of them and Gunther, to be 100% honest with you. If I'm picking, those would be the three that I would hedge my money on. As far as who I think is going to come out and get the dub, it's going to be Corey's cat. But with that said, I think I think that whoever wins the Rumble, the other name that I'm going to name here is going to win the Elimination Chamber in Perth, personally. I've been saying this for a while, and I still feel like, and okay, Joey's bringing up right into my point, okay? I think that Cody's going to win the Rumble because, A, it's the main way for him to get back to Roman. But secondly, and more importantly, the reason why I think they're winning, they sure are teasing the shit out of the last time somebody won the Royal Rumble back-to-back. And do you know who the last person was who did that? Do you know? I can show you. He's up there in the corner. Stone Cold is the last one to win the Rumble in back-to-back years, winning it in 97 and 98. Like I said, bro, I think Cody's going to win the Rumble, and for that reason, I think CM Punk is going to win the Elimination Chamber, and somehow we'll end up with him and Rollins of some degree, or however that looks, unless Gunther goes and wins the damn Royal Rumble. But if you're asking me who my pick is, I think it's got to be Cody Rhodes on this one, or at least I hope for Cody's sake that maybe it is Cody Rhodes.
I wish I had a boo cue over here. Boo you, Kyle. Boo.
Look here, you stole all my picks when we were talking about the last preview card. So you can just shut the fuck up.
I'm glad you got hip here and went first.
I mean, I am the host. I get to pull the card. But Rob,
I want to know you pick, man. So I got to pick here, but I want to know you pick first.
You want to go first, bro? I don't want to steal your thunder. All right, I got it.
I want you to go first.
All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna stay for your guys' picks, and I'm gonna tag out. Go over to my show. And thank you guys for having me. It's always a blast talking to y'all.
Let them know where they can find y'all at.
Oh, please. Well, we got our new site, bcp-plus.com. We're covering 8 NFL teams. Well, now there's a lot less going on right now. We're covering the playoffs right now. We got SmackDown every week. We've got some big interviews up there. We just had our Mason Mansour interview over on Fightful. That was featured. That was pretty cool. You guys had a great interview with Mace Mason D. Madden, excuse me, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. So shameless promo for you guys. But check us out, the Bob Culture Podcast, over on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. I think for this particular men's rumble, it might be one I'm the most excited for in recent memory. Like Kyle said, I could pick 3 guys, maybe 4 guys to win this one. I think this is, if I'm doing a final 4 here, again, this is all hinging on
one pride, motherfucker.
Let's go. We're gonna go CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Gunther. And I'll say, if there is a return, and I do see it happen, he's definitely going to be here in some form or fashion. If he's in a suit, if he's interfering in a match, if he's coming in the Rumble, The Rock is going to be in Tampa in some form or fashion. I am convinced of that. Is it going to be the Rumble? I don't know, but that's my final 4. This is the perfect place for a little bit, and don't get too screwy because sometimes it gets corny, but this is the perfect place for that screwy finish, that overtime drama, that like right at the end, Cody is definitely going to be in the final 2. I'll put it that way. Gunther, I think, was the final 2 last year, if I'm correct, or something like that. This is the perfect time for, both feet touch at the same time. Do something different, though. Don't do that. Some sort of overtime, some sort of extra drama, like it's like, is it Punk? Is it Cody? I think it's going to come down to them too, especially after this promo. I think it's going to come down to those 2 again, because Gunther was in the final 2 last year. I think it's those 2. I think there's going to be some sort of drama before one of them wins. Like, no one's going to throw each other out. They're going to go out at the same time. Someone's going to interfere. Something's going to get screwed up. Maybe The Rock. Something's going to get screwed up, and there's going to be that overtime. I'm going to call it that overtime drama. We'll figure it out. I think we know Cody's mission statement. If Cody wins, there's not much of a, and I don't want to say the story, but there's not much of a story to tell. Okay, Cody wins. He faces Roman at Mania. We're waiting 3 months. Yeah. Like, we need and not to be like, we talk about the hard times. Like, we've done all that. Like,
I love that they brought that up, by the way. Like, the little throwbacks were so dope.
Oh, yeah. Oh, brilliant. I think that on this roller coaster, Punk's back. He has not wrestled really on TV. We saw him wrestle over at Madison Square Garden over here for a house show. But that being said, man, his mission statement was, I'm going to be the monkey wrench in this whole thing. Monkey wrench for you, Cody. Monkey wrench for the bloodline. Monkey wrench for this and that and the other thing. For Seth, he's going to be the monkey wrench. It's going to be that. Cody didn't win? And I'm going to go CM Punk for that reason.
Yeah, I hate to keep piggybacking off of you, man, but mine was the same reason. What I said earlier, you don't sign somebody big like that. I mean, we seen how last year played out with the whole Cody thing, right? Like they played very big into that. And to your point, I think there's still a little bit of meat on the bone to be had with the story. So it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if they go that direction. But I mean, you don't make another big signing without having them at least perform really well at Rumble, and that's where I see CM Punk filling that spot. So I hate to keep piggybacking.
Okay, so then who's he going to fight for the belt? So are you saying you think he's going to fight Seth then if he wins?
I would imagine, but it depends on timing. Like you guys say with the whole injury thing and stuff like that, is he really out past Mania? Is he able to perform at Mania? Timing.
Well, I'm with it, boys. Kyle, you're the Lone Ranger here. CM Punk's going to win this thing. I'm going to tell you how. This is J-Bone's fantasy.
Good. That means I get to fucking be the only one who's right. That's what I'm talking about.
Here's J-Bone's fantasy booking, and I love doing it. So we're going to get down to 3. It's going to be Punk, Cody. It's going to be Gunther. And how do we make CM Punk still likable without being the guy that ruins Cody's story? Gunther tosses Cody. Now we're down to 2. The world is going crazy. This is the final drop on the roller coaster of Cody's story. The one last hard times he's got to get through to get back to finish his story, right? Punk wins it. Remains to be seen what he does. Cody can get it back. They got to make the Elimination Chamber matter, right? I know it's a 5 a.m. start time, but that's a huge event. What's going to bring them there? If it's not The Rock, it's Cody Rhodes' last shot at getting back to that title. So I think that's what we're going to do. Punk's going to win it. Gunther's going to get major heat by tossing Cody Rhodes this time.
I like that. Real quick, I just want to say this, man. I like the way you design that fantasy booking, because if if it's Punk and Cody gets thrown out, it's like, oh shoot, Cody lost, but we're celebrating. Like, we're like, oh, Punk won. So it's kind of like two things happening at once. But if you have that moment where Gunther throws him out, it's like what Punk?
We don't want
not in it anymore. Like,
we don't want to water down the tequila, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you gotta keep it strong. So how do we keep it from hate? Let's not hate CM Punk, because it wasn't him. It was Gunther. We're still adding layers upon layers to Gunther's legacy, which is great. You know, it's the IC champ. Real quick, though, before we keep going, I got some surprise entrances. I think Matt Cardona's coming back. John Cena. I want to see John Cena in this Royal Rumble. I don't care who he's facing again. It don't matter. I just want to see him go face-to-face with somebody in there.
I'd love to see Matt Cardona there. I would love to see Andrade there. I would love to see dude. And then, you know, you got to talk about like celebrities and shit like that. But Rob, you got to do your. But we got to let Rob get up out of here so he can do his thing on the Bob Culture Show. Because
real quick, Logan Paul, Jake Paul. They're gonna come in there and they're gonna steal the show, dude.
Yeah, bring Jake Paul in there. I'm with it. We can do it. Wow. Let them be a tag team. J-Bone wins the pick. Santino in the Royal Rumble, even though he's working with TNA. What the fuck?
Let's do it. Oh, everything goes. Real quick, Cardona is going to be on that Jericho cruise. Don't matter though. He's going to fly from whatever island.
Oh shit! Never mind. All right, I forgot.
No, he's going to make the Rumble. He's going to make the Rumble.
My last wild card entrance was going to be Corey Graves, because I heard he's cleared to wrestle. I'd love to see him.
I would love that
last year. Yeah.
I just love to see him get a crack at it, dude. Just even if it's for a few minutes. Just get in there and just get something. You know what I mean? You just like to see shit like that.
Love it.
Hell yeah, man. Well, let this man get up out of here at the hot tag so he can go jump over to Bob Culture Plus. All of you guys who are jumping over here to watch it, make sure you check out the whole show to hear Rob's picks. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow button, like button. And yeah, Rob, you need to hit me up. I'll come talk with y'all for Elimination Chamber, my guy.
Gotcha, man. I'll see you in Tampa, guys. Be good. Stay out of trouble, all right?
Yep. Have a great night, man.
Peace, love, and check and grace. With that said, man, we've made our picks. You know, we have talked about our picks for the Royal Rumble. I am very much so looking forward to that. What up, though, my man? Appreciate you checking us out. Make sure you stay tuned. Donald, before we talk about what happened with UFC 297, which we're not going to do like a huge deep dive on it or anything, but I told you I had some news. Circle 6 is going to make their way back to Detroit. And a little birdie told me that they might just be doing some things on knockouts and 3 counts. Coming next week, Dale Patricks will make his debut on knockouts and 3 counts. The guy who many people don't know is actually maybe the catalyst for why this show even exists. Because I listened to his podcast and listened to him talking about going over to go see Wrestle Kingdom in Japan all by himself. Kevin Gill will also join us next week for Circle 6. And there's going to be more that are going to be announced in the near future, as we are one of the sponsors to said show. And if you guys are going to Circle 6, make sure you use the promo code, which will be coming out to you within the next couple weeks. Buy your tickets with that knockouts and 3 counts code, and make sure you come out and see us in Detroit. We're going to be at Harpo's Circle 6 getting down. It's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to go down. February 17th, Harpo's Music Theater. Sami Callihan is going to be on this card. You've got Sami Callahan's going to be on this card. You've got all kinds of people are going to be on this card. Like I said, Dale Patricks, Kevin Gill will be coming through here to talk with us about it. AJ Gray is on there. You're right. I know Tommy Vendetta and Malcolm Monroe III. The Pillars will be in UK for ICW, but you should stay tuned because I heard the Pillars might have to set up shop here soon as well too. So now that we've gotten that biznatch out of the way, like I said, we're not going to go into like a full diatribe of it, but we've had UFC 297 go down this weekend, which man, was it a bad day for Canada. But it was a bad day for Canada. But let's talk about the main event and co-main event, if nothing else. I think a lot of the people that the UFC wanted to win, except for the biggest one, things did not go exactly as planned as I think they may have hoped. We'll start ladies first. Corey, what were your thoughts on Raquel Pennington winning the Bantamweight Championship?
I'm glad I was watching it with somebody, because if not, I don't know if I'd have made it to the main event. That was my thoughts on how that fight played out. It was so how I had said Raquel Pennington in my lead up. Raquel Pennington's really good when she gets her boxing going, and Buena Silva, she brings a different type of pressure with her game, where she may be able to add some wrinkles that Raquel hasn't necessarily seen. And being the younger, fresher, maybe we'll see that type of just dog come out of her, and a huge opportunity. I feel like neither one of these girls fucking took advantage of the opportunity. Yeah, Raquel Pennington's a champ, but I'm not. As somebody who said on the show I was excited for Raquel Pennington to become a champ, I'm not excited for her being a champ. That was such a not title-worthy performance. I hate to, be like that, but that was it wasn't it, man. And then Buena Silva to end the fight. I understand that was her first 5-round fight, but to end the fight on her back, just fucking chilling. Yeah. That was like, that's not a good
well, after she talked all that shit about how Raquel was so boring, and then I feel like she didn't really do anything.
I was just gonna say she talked a lot of trash going into that fight about how boring she was.
It was Raquel too, though, because I forget who had made the point. I think it was Juliana Pena, actually, on the Ariel Helwani show. She would be so good if she just let her hands go, but she kept just digging her face into it and just trying to keep herself safe and not put herself in a offensive or potential spot where she would need to use her defense. She just kept trying to use that cage pressure, use head pressure against the cage, and it just led to a super lackluster fight, man. I hope whoever we see that first defense from Juliana Pena from Pennington, I hope they just bring a better fight. I hope they just bring a better fight out of it.
Yeah. I'm loving Devin's comment down there with the pig. Say, follow for more hot takes, fellas. We all know how the internet felt about that one, but Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm still here. They didn't hunt me down, so
you picked the right winner. So
yeah, that's why they call it a hot take, right? If it would have happened the way I said it was going to happen, I'd be a genius right now, but it didn't. So at least I picked the winner. I noticed nobody came back and commented at nothing, so it is what it is. Come back anytime you like to get
all those that said that
they'll
be back. Yeah, come back anytime you like. Make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff at KO3C Pod. We just had like our most liked TikTok since I started doing all the TikToks and all that stuff with Mason Madden telling us about how the Usos are the kings of Tekken in the WWE locker room. I definitely would like to
in the comments for the Rumble, man. I must say, there's been some ridiculous picks for the winner. I love it. Hot take.
Devin's got the hot take. Devin. Somebody was telling me that a certain corner might be making their way to the show. I'm sure Devin knows what I'm talking about, so we might have to have you come back on soon. But all right, as far as Raquel Pennington winning the title, I picked Raquel Pennington as well. I'm happy that she won. To your point, Corey, I don't feel like. I mean, to your point, I don't. To your point, I just don't. I don't know, man. I don't even know how to quantify what I'm trying to say, because I feel like she did what she needed to do to win. Like, she looked good. She did what she was supposed to. She won the fight.
I feel like you can win the fight without looking good.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't think that she did anything to really overly set herself apart. And I'm already hearing rumors that Amanda's rumbling that she might want to come back and fight. And look, bro, sit down or not. All I'm saying is that if Amanda Nunes comes back, she's still going to beat everybody at 135. Yeah. So for Raquel's sake, I hope that doesn't happen. But it wasn't the most entertaining of fights. But again, not every fight can be barn burner and all that stuff. I think Raquel Pennington did what she needed to do. She won the fight. I mean, like you said, Corey, I don't think it was the most entertaining of fights, but I also think she did what she was supposed to. Before I go any further, though, shout out to the homie Jimmy fucking Flick. Win me some money. He almost got him with that Von Flick going over here catching Malcolm Gordon in that arm triangle. And shout out to our guy and past guest of the show, James Lynch, putting Dana on the spot, talking about, is Jimmy Flick going to get re-signed? And Dana says, of course. So we're going to see more of Jimmy Flick inside the UFC. But again, to my point, it was a bad night for Canada in the UFC at UFC 297.
Yeah. If it wasn't for them two females in Julian Roberts and Jasmine Jasdavicius stepping up and both really putting on killer performances, man, I'm sure that
she was
Canadian
crowd Cashwaya the work because she missed weight too.
One of the rarest of rares in a 10-7 on a judge's scorecard.
Yeah,
honestly,
I could see it though.
It was deserving. Yeah, it was deserving. But if it wasn't for those two ladies, and I'm a big fan of both of them, so shout out both ladies, but if it wasn't for both of them, man, that Canadian crowd would have been left there very disappointed. I'm sure that Mike Malott one, though, took a lot of steam out of it.
I thought Mike Malott was going to have his coming out party.
Oh, my gosh, right?
Well, he basically did. I mean, he wasn't able to find a finish or anything, but he was doing very well throughout 2.5 rounds, and then just essentially really gassed on himself and then wasn't able to get out of the mount position.
Well, and that was the fight, one of the fights I was talking about when I mentioned that I feel like a lot of the people that the UFC wanted to win these fights are not the people who won these fights, because, I mean, no disrespect to Neil Magny. Neil Magny's a dog. But do I think that they're Neil Magny is going to run through the ranks and get to a title at this stage in his career? Probably not. But I definitely think that they were hoping that Mike Malott could be the next big star out of Canada. And for him to drop that fight in a fight, like you said,
when are we covering redneck brawls in Barstool?
Let's put it together.
I did try to talk to Street Beefs at one point, so
I mean, I tried to get with it. We talked with Street Beefs about that stuff a couple times, but
I've seen Ariel Helwani at least make one defense of Mike Malott, and being that Rory McDonald lost his UFC Canadian debut as well and still had a very good career. He was beating
I think Mike Malott's going to have a great career. So, I mean, Corey, you watch all the fights with me. I've been high on Mike Malott for a long time, and the craziest part about it is Mike Malott's been knocking all these people out, but he's been the jiu-jitsu coach at Team Alpha Male for how long? So, like,
we'll see how much his cardio changes going into this next one. I'm sure or at least how he implements his game so that he doesn't end up quite as gassed come the end of the third round. I think that it just was a huge thing. And I mean, like I had said in my breakdown, the one thing you can't do is let Neil Magny on top of you and start raining down punches, because that's the only way he finds finishes and only way he essentially really beats people. And that's what he got. But
so he's the guy in the UFC game that just gets in mount and just tries to pound everybody out. But with that said, let's talk about the main event, bro. The main event, Sean Strickland versus DDP. No, not Diamond Dallas Page. We're not going to go bang, even though Dricus du Plessis did make a bang and is the new UFC middleweight champion. Here's my thing, right? Like, I'm not necessarily mad that DDP won, but I've said this for years. I'm a firm believer in that in order to beat the champion, what did Ric Flair say? To be the man, you got to beat the man. To win that gold strap over there, you got to beat the man. And I feel like even though Dricus du Plessis won that fight, it was a split decision, and I don't feel as though he was so overly dominant that it was enough really to like beat Neil Magny. I'm not saying that du Plessis doesn't deserve the title, but I just feel, again, I'm really a firm believer in that. Like, I feel like for the champion to lose a fight and it not be by knockout or submission, you need to like dominate him for 5 rounds, or at least if you're gonna win by decision, like it needs to be clear. And I feel like there were a lot of rounds that could have gone either way. I feel like 1 and 5 were definitely Strickland, and then the ones in the middle were definitely up for interpretation, as we saw. I'm not taking anything away from DDP. I said going into the fight, if you watch the show, that I thought that he was next up at 185 if it wasn't going to be Strickland. But I'm gonna be honest, bro, to keep it real with you. I mean, we always say life, and check out Megaran, who we're going to see this Friday. His new shirt says it best. Everything is pro wrestling. And I think that the UFC needs a main event for UFC 300. And I feel like Izzy versus Dricus du Plessis is going to be like the biggest title fight that they could slot in there at this point. That would be a legitimate title fight for UFC 300.
Yeah. And
to Donald's point, the headbutt made it look like Strickland had way more damage than he really had. And I agree, which is why to what you and I were talking about, Corey, which if you guys are watching in the comments, let me know what you think. We're thinking about starting watch alongs and all these things, but I literally said this while we were watching the fight. This is why I'm not the biggest fan of damage being such a large criteria in the judging, because you could headbutt somebody and split them up nasty, and the guy just starts bleeding like a sieve. But then the guy who's bleeding, can continue to land shots and do all those things like Strickland was doing. Obviously, if it's something where you're like straight battering the guy, sure, I understand that. But another perfect example was a fight that was in the prelims with City. Although I feel like his opponent definitely had the harder punches, I think outside of those few spots where he landed those counter shots, I feel like City was winning that fight. But I think, to Donald's point, because he was bleeding so much, I think that's why his opponent was able to get the win. But in this fight, I kind of think that was the same thing again with damage being such the criteria for it. I feel like that's why they gave the win to him. I don't necessarily know. I'm not mad at him winning, but I just still don't know that I feel like it was enough for DDP to be your new champion. But J-Bone, what do you think?
No, I kind of trolled back at everybody after I seen the decision. I said, "Oh, he dominated the fight." He didn't dominate. I had the same as you, Kyle. I had Strickland 1 and 5, and then du Plessis 2, 3, and 4. But the headbutt was a big deal. And honestly, I was kind of busy that night. I was doing the DJ thing, but when I was trying to catch it, I didn't actually catch the headbutt. I just happened to glance down, and he was gushing blood. So I'm like, "Oh shit, he caught him one." But you're right about the damage. Like you can sit there and bleed and bleed and bleed. And if you really ain't getting touched, if it's off one punch, it's it takes away from who's dominating the fight versus significant damage, right? So it's one of those gray areas in MMA that, unfortunately, I don't even know how it would be worked on. But as far as him being the champ, man, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think he did enough to really be like, oh, he deserves to be that champ. Like going forward, like I wouldn't even be mad if they ran it right back. I really wouldn't. Because I think it was entertaining enough to do it again. And it could go the opposite way. But I'm ready to see Izzy versus du Plessis, though. Let's get that going. Hopefully that's at 300. Is that what it's going to be targeted for? Or is that the latest?
Well, they haven't said anything, and they haven't even said that fight was going to happen yet. But, I mean, that's been one of the fights that's been
I can't see
because
Izzy
it's the only championship that's really not matched up heading into that card that doesn't have anything really going. So it's really like the only viable title fight that has enough juice on it. But I mean, again, Izzy's also not said that he's ready to come back yet either.
When is UFC 300 again? What is
April?
April.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with the turnaround. That's my only concern. We already seen Dricus turn down a title opportunity when he wasn't the belt holder, and that's what ended up. Like I had mentioned on the show, Strickland should have been thanking Dricus because he wouldn't have been a belt holder. At least until potentially now when they had matched up. But if it wasn't for the whole thing with Dricus saying I'm taking my time after this Whitaker fight. So
now Hold on. I got a quick question for you, Corey, because you probably would know. Let's just say you're Drickus and Izzy. UFC 300's there, and they offer you that. Yeah, there's a big payday, but it also comes with a lot of other attention, right, on other fights. Would you be wanting to do that or opposed to, say, like a late summer fight, like the blockbuster fight of the summer? Wouldn't you think you would get a little more money for that?
See, I feel like if you're the UFC, especially if they've been paying attention to the fans, which it seems like they do at least to some extent, a lot of people are not happy with what we've had presented for us for this big ceremonious card in UFC 300. And I feel like that, to your point, Kyle, this is the type of fight where we would see something like that. People would be like, okay, cool, we finally get this matchup. This one's been brewing for years, da-da-da. But I just don't know if I feel like Drickus is going to say, I feel like the payday would be more worth it because
it's going to be the biggest payday that Drickus has got on there.
Yeah, and well, the fact that you're taking on Izzy is probably the biggest sales figure that you're going to get in the division, plus with the whole built-in story and stuff like that. So I'd imagine they go that direction. I don't know about 300. I would imagine they make the offer to both guys, but does it pan out? I feel less than confident, put it that way. But to go back to the actual fight itself, I feel like, to your point, Kyle, it wasn't enough to be crowned a new champ. It wasn't like that type of performance.
And in a split decision.
Yeah, and to kind of I watched it back in a couple different directions. I watched it back via just the replay of the event, and then I watched it with the I've talked about it here on the show before, but the Weasel breakdowns where he actually goes strike by strike, lists it in light, medium, and heavy, and does it all in slow motion. And he said that the judges scored it right by going towards Drickus. I still feel like after the first initial watch, I was like, okay, I feel like Sean won 1 in 5 pretty convincingly, and I would imagine he won one of those middle rounds. So the fight's his. And then they announced Drickus, and I was like, okay, I can see how he got the middle 3. I could see it. And then going back after, I feel like I disagree. I feel like I go back and I watch it, and I feel like, to your point, the headbutt leaking, causing the blood and stuff like that, and making the fight look significantly worse for Strickland than it was, I guess, is I feel like it did lean a lot on significantly close rounds. I feel like the very little success that Drickus was able to have with the wrestling also helped in the fact that these rounds were so close. But I feel like, to me, Strickland probably should have walked away with the belt. I'm not super upset because the fight was so close, but it wasn't, for me, my biggest issue with the fight was, I understand Drickus is kind of hard to deal with and brings his own aspects to the game that may be troublesome. But for Sean Strickland, we didn't see that level up that you hear like people like Teddy Atlas say, where once you become champ, you're 30% better if I don't think we've seen any of that. We didn't see like the leveling up of his game. We've seen Sean Strickland going out there, rolling with shots, throwing jabs, and doing Sean Strickland stuff. I mean, I think it was enough to win the fight, in my opinion. I feel like that's who the champ should still be, but I don't know. You got to do more, man. You got to
finish when it comes down to it, right? You never want to leave it with the judges.
Not even finish. Where I seen, yet again, to just keep going off of all the shows that I watch, but I seen Brendan Schaub talk about how, where was that end of round 5 when he was yelling at Israel about, like, you could just see in his eyes the passion and the like rage that he was bringing into the fight. I feel like maybe because they got so personal and then backed it up where they had kind of like started shaking hands and being buddy. I feel like it kind of made it more of a sparring session for Sean Strickland than it was like a world title defense. And I guess that was my biggest issue.
I get it,
I'll
man.
tell you what, at some point, Sean Strickland looked like Kratos, didn't he, with that streak of blood down his face? That was pretty dope. I thought that was cool.
Was one of my favorite video games.
I love that
PS2 franchise. But hey, man, go ahead.
No, I was just saying God of War. That's my shit.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, UFC 297 wasn't my favorite one, but on UFC 298, we've got another past guest of the show, Miranda Fear the Maverick. Make sure you check out my review of Prowler Pickles, which pretty good, but beware of the pickle juice. With that being said, we got a lot to talk about. Like I said, Circle 6 heavy when I come back from Tampa. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because you don't know who I'm going to be talking with once I get to Tampa. And if you're in Tampa, make sure you're at the Crowbar Friday night. We are going to be at the Rumble, the Battle Rumble. Mega Ran, AJ Francis, Big Swole, Maximum Male Models, Mason Mansoor. You got Leo Rush. You got Max Caster from AEW. And just announced yesterday, AEW has given Brand 12 copies of AEW's video game to give away in this mug at the Battle Rumble. So make sure that you guys are there. There could be some redneck brawls at the Battle Rumble, but we are ready to rumble. We are ready to get after it. I'm ready to get to Tampa and stop freezing my balls off. So until next time, and in the in-between time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the like button, the share button, the comment button. Joey, it was good to see you back in the show. Don't be a stranger.
Love
Stay
his comments.
tuned.
Hell yeah.